So it is an absolutely lovely August Sunday while I record this. I call this sort of a messy hair diary, if you will. But had a very nice laid back day, did some things, and also worked on this Bottega Obscura journal. So I guess in another sense, I could call this the messy boy's guide to attempting an illuminated manuscript. So the backstory is, this is a Bottega Obscura journal, and it's done horizontally. It was a special gift to me from Bottega Obscura. I'm very close to him. We go back now a few years. He sends me journals a couple times a year out of our friendship, which is really lovely. But he wanted to send me something that's oriented landscape, so that I could have fun in the margins. And I also do enjoy journaling this way. And of course you could hold it like this if you like, but really kind of neat to have a variation. I have several of these journals. These journals are works of art, tooled leather, beautiful gold gilding. The spine is absolutely gorgeous. You can see my initials on there and a nice dose of gold. So the architect of the universe motif there, and some griffins. I mean, it looks like something you would find in some obscure library that hasn't been handled in a few hundred years. So having this and sort of wanting to honor his wishes by doing something with marginalia, I decided to see if I could make something like an illuminated manuscript page. And I am not that creative. Well, I'm creative in many ways, but not in the neat, physical, on paper, artistic way. I think I make very nice videos. I write very well. I'm an original thinker. I can be kind of immodest and say that. I can defend that. But when it comes to making pretty pictures in a very measured and disciplined way, not my forte. And I think that's what's going to make this video interesting. Do I make a mess of it? Because I hate to bet against myself, but if I were a betting person, I probably would bet against myself. I'm just prone to accidents, prone to making things kind of worse. And I often end up kind of destroying things and having several attempts before I get to something that I can live with. And I'm a little obsessive, so if I'm staring at a failure, it bothers me and I'll rip the page out or whatnot. But I don't want to rip any pages out of this. I want to keep the integrity of this book. I want to do the best job I can and do something presentable as an illuminated manuscript page as best I can. So join me today, won't you? And see how well I do or don't do in producing a lovely illuminated manuscript page, so I can have fun in the margins and maybe draw a knight battling a snail to the death. I might want to put one of those in there at some point. So I started out by drawing the margins, because you can't have marginalia without margins. And I'm working in millimeters here, slightly different, but that's what my ruler is. And I also wanted there to be a first letter for the first letter of my name, capital T, up in the high left spot. And I wanted to kind of break the plane of the other margins. And at this point, I was just sort of drawing it all out, mapping it all out, but I didn't want it to be too heavy. Now here I'm using Diatramentis Document Ink Black, and I'm going to put it in my trusty old Waterman Charleston, that Art Deco marvel, with an absolutely beautiful smooth gold fine point nib, which I think would be perfect for this. Now, I don't know how well you can use a fountain pen with a ruler, and I definitely learned a few things here. Certainly if you use the side, it goes okay. But if you spread the tines in any way with that ruler, you can get into a lot of trouble. And there it was, a little smear right there with the ruler. and a bit of a burst. So yeah, I'm dying a little bit inside looking at that smear, even though I'm really happy with the way the tea is coming out. But I'm like, okay, it's a smear. I'm going to turn it into a happy little accident. I'm going to turn it into sort of a little castle or something up there. What more can I do? Make it blend in. So I added some other sort of medieval touches around the corner here. I decided to draw them freehand because I just figured the ruler is just going to do some more mischief and I can't have that. So I drew sort of vines and flowers and funny birds and things all freehand. And I'm pretty happy with the way they came out for the most part, but I definitely decided against painting them. I just feel like if I were to use watercolors, the paper would wrinkle. So I decided to use colored pencils, and my daughter has a gorgeous set of colored pencils that I could use. And I figure if I use these, it won't make the pages wrinkle. And I asked my wife to paint the tea with glue so that I could gild it. I just didn't trust myself to do that. I bought all this gold leaf, and this is such a challenge. I don't know if you've ever used gold leaf, but if a wind gets a hold of it, it just blows away. It doubles over on itself. It's kind of a mess, and it's very difficult to use, and we had multiple trials here. First time out, waited too long, and the Elmer's essentially dried too quickly on the page. And Elmer's is probably not even the right kind of glue to use, but hey, it's what I had. And see, there it is flopping about. So pretty. I wasted so much gold as I tried to gild. But I don't know, gilding is an art. I think people learn this over many months. I didn't watch any kind of video. I probably should have. I didn't have time. If I went and watched videos, I don't know when I would have gotten around to actually doing this, but you can see this is pretty much a disaster. The gold sticks everywhere except where you want it to be, and that's not pleasant at all. So several more attempts of dumping gold onto the tea, hoping it will stick. Actually on the tea and not onto my fingers, which is where it loved to stick, or anything else that touched it really. This seemed like a good idea until I did it. And I know those of you that work with this material are probably laughing, hopefully in sympathy with me. But I will say that the gilding was probably the most challenging part here. I asked my wife to give it a shot. And as you can see already, she's much better at it than I am. Look at that. She did a very nice job of getting the gold in the right spot. So if we had put the glue down correctly, we would have been done at this point. But sadly, it was just too hot. I didn't move quickly enough. And so it was not quite fully gilded. And so it was back to the drawing board with painting it on once again. My lovely wife helping me with this because she is much better at this than I am. But this was definitely the most challenging part. Trying to do this gilding was infuriatingly difficult, but kind of a lot of fun. So it's not like I wasn't having a good time. I mean, who doesn't like to play with gold? So it was an absolute blast trying to get it in there, and we did eventually succeed, more or less. So here my wife and I worked together, and our idea was to just basically keep dumping gold on it until it stuck. I mean, how could that go wrong, right? I'll show you how it comes out ultimately, but I decided to let it dry there and to get to the business of coloring. And it's kind of amazing, even using colored pencil, how much it really starts to make it all come together and make it all pop. So I was really proud of this. I was kind of having a blast mixing some greens here, and then I decided to burnish the gold, and it mostly came out except for one spot on the bottom and a little bit on the side. So I tried it all over again. Yeah, the gold is infuriating, but in kind of a fun way. So I definitely went through a lot of gold. So it was here that I was really enjoying putting the different colors on there. The gold looks kind of antiqued. I'm not that unhappy with it, to tell you the truth. It's a little sloppy first time out of the gate, what would one expect? I'm not being too hard on myself, but overall, I think it looks pretty good. And then I decided to kind of color the background of my border with something dark. This is kind of a dark brownish kind of charcoal, just to give it some contrast. And I thought that would look nice and make the colors pop, and indeed it did. And then I colored my little happy accident castle at the top, burnished my gold once again. I have gold flakes all over the floor here. It's going to be interesting vacuuming. So now I need to do the frame around the letter T here, and I figured I need a lot of color here, really make it pop. So I use colors that are in opposition with each other's, green, oranges, reds. I thought that would make it, you know, bounce a bit, have a lot of contrast along with the black edges. And I'm actually pretty happy with the way it came out. I fudged it a bit with the gold, but I mean, first attempt, I don't think this is that bad. I'm actually pretty proud. You can see the lines that I drew there. I'm contemplating what I'm going to use to write in there. Okay, so as you saw, here's the finished product. I'll say it's not that bad considering that it's me. I do think it was a good idea not to use watercolors. This is fountain pen paper, not watercolor paper, and it probably would have driven me mad having a wrinkly first page. The gilding, it was very difficult, much more difficult than I was expecting, but it's got sort of an aged look to it. I think that's appropriate. And of course, the giant smear at the top, I presentably turned it into something. It was a happy little accident, and I made the best of it, as only you can in that situation. And I think it was probably smart using the colored pencils. Now, I will fill this in. I'm debating whether or not to get a 1.5 stub to do so, but it'll have probably columns, and I'll write in here for a first page. And I will do some marginalia in there as well. I don't know what. Something interesting and outrageous beyond this little sort of castle structure, cathedral, if you will, that I had to put there. So I guess I'm going to give myself points for sticking to it, for recovery, for character growth, because I think if I had made these kind of mistakes a few years ago, I would have taken a sharp blade and cut this page out and never thought about it again. But I can live with this. I'm happy enough. Of course, my first letter ever in gilding, and it's not so bad. So it shuts properly. I can then proceed to journal in here. So what do you think of the job I did? I'm going to attempt more artistic endeavors as I go along in this channel. Let me know what you think. I'd appreciate it. I could use a little bit of encouragement, and perhaps my ego could use a little bit of criticism as well. So let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this and you enjoy all my videos, then please do subscribe. I'd love to have you on this journey with me. From the fountain pen, we go to some amazing places. And this time, I suppose we could pretend we went to a medieval monastery. Why not? So I make new videos all the time. So I can promise you we'll see each other again further up the road. So take care.